Informationen geben möchte über DSD I. And this is where I'm going to switch to English, because I would like all of you, even the 5As and the 80s, to understand all the information that you're going to be getting. And I also want you to know that right at the end there will be a space for questions and answers. Alright, so if you do have questions, wait at the end. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Bachmeier first, who's going to introduce the DSD to you.
Okay, good morning everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, so welcome. We never, you're far away. Actually, we never had an assembly like that. So what do we have all in common? You know? So most of you, or all of you, should be not with a German passport. So German is not your mother tongue. Okay? And I wanted to give you some background about the school and the DSD, the German Language Diploma. And I was asked to do it in English, even my German is so much better, just because of the 5A. So where's the 5A? So you have to appreciate. Are you not sure? Huh? Are you sure? 6 or 5? Okay. So, but just for 4 weeks now. Okay, good. Because you are not supposed to speak German. 6A, already a little bit different, huh? Ihr solltet mich schon mal ein bisschen verstehen.
Ja.
Right? Okay, this was the 5. Good. Okay, you are here in the oldest private school of Johannesburg. Yeah, more than 130 years old. And we have a very, very, very long tradition. That's the first thing. The second thing is, this school is fully subsidized by Germany. I mean, since 1989, we take 25 students in, and those students we are subsidizing. So in 1989, those students, you were not born in 1989, I'm sure, those students came all from Soweto. And now we call this stream ISEC, and the kids are not all coming from Soweto, which is fine. Okay? But those were the previously disadvantaged social groups in this country. Since 1989. In 1989 it was still not allowed. It was just allowed from 1994 on. So, yeah, we breached the law actually 5 years from 1989 on. And this was fully subsidized actually. But what I wanted to say to you, that the whole school is subsidized by 50% by the German government. So whatever you get, for teachers, for class trips, everything you get, 50% comes from Germany, and the other 50% come from those parents who are paying school fees. You understand? Okay. Good. And the German government is just requesting one thing from every student of the school: to learn German and to be interested in the German culture. Not more. And for this, they pay 50% of all the costs of the school. And now we have a bit of a problem. I mean, you cannot all do the Abitur, and it's not requested. This is fine. So if you come to us in grade 5, we request from you, and I could say you owe us, to do the DSD, the German Language Diploma on the 2nd level. If you come to us in grade 8, English Medium High School, we request from you to pass the German Language Diploma Level 1. Okay? That's from the German government. And the German government wants from me a pass rate of at least 60%. And this is our biggest challenge at this school. You might know, in Matric and Abitur, we have a pass rate of 100% for 20 years, which is totally amazing. And it also shows it doesn't depend on the principal. Because principal changes, but the pass rate remains the same. But the problem is, in the German language diploma, our pass rate is not high enough. And that's a problem. Because I have to explain to the German government why they still have to subsidize the school, even if we don't achieve the requested pass rate. Okay, I mean, in general, there are a lot of government and private schools. So there's just one difference to our school when it comes to certificate. And this is the German language. You can go to any other private school in Johannesburg and they also have a pass rate. Many of them have a high pass rate of 100% mostly. Okay? So the matric you can do anywhere. Even in government schools, you can do the matric. What you cannot do at any other school is learning German and to be confronted with the German culture like here. Okay? That's, I think, is why you should attend this school. So this is the difference to all the other schools. And yeah, we're controlling it, so sometimes we are close to 60%. If I look at the DSD II 2021, so last year, I think they are all here, the pass rate was 59%. So it was very close to 60. But other German schools in South Africa, they have a pass rate of 70 and 75%. And how should I explain this? And my problem is, you all passed the matric. You all passed the Abitur for 20 years. So I think it's just a question of motivation. So you could be better in German if you are more interested in German language and the German culture. Otherwise, you cannot explain it. How comes hundreds and thousands of students are all passing matric, but they fail in DSD? This can't be. And I mean, if you are fluent in German, you have many more opportunities instead of having just only the matric. And I know some parents are sending you here because of these alternatives and options. So it's not just about studying in university, but if you apply, not you in grade 6, but you, the tall ones, the old ones, the experienced ones, if you apply to a German company, and there are many, Lufthansa, BMW, Bosch, VW, Audi, doesn't matter. If you apply to a German company and you are fluently in German, your chances are so much better. I know so many cases, they were not excellent in Abitur, or they have been not excellent in matric, and they were just taken by those companies because they were fluently in Germany and they had the DSD II or the DSD I. In many of our Abiturienten, they get a dual study. So it means you are paid by the company for studying. And usually you get, let's say, between 20 and 25,000 rand a month for studying from this company. Yeah. But you have to be fluently in German. So if you're here for 8 years or for 5 years and you don't pass the German language diploma, I think you're missing a huge chance. Okay? So keep it in mind. This I just wanted to give some background of the school and the DSD. I mean, with a matric and a DSD II diploma, you can study at any university in Germany. And all the universities in Germany are for free. You're not paying fees. With DSD I and matric, you still have to do an additional 1-year course, language course in Germany. And then it's equal with DSD II. So after 1 year, you can also study in German. And the best, of course, is if you do the German Abitur, then you can study all over the world. Okay. Good. And we have such examples. And we have such role models. And they are sitting behind me. So there are cases, they are here just for, I think, 4 years, and they pass the DSD II. And the DSD II is not made for them. If you are here for 4 years, you just regress the DSD I. So I don't know how he did it. There are actually 2 last year, but maybe they can explain us. And then, who else is here? Yeah, then there are some here, they don't have any German background. They just came here, they never been in Germany, no family in Germany, no relatives in Germany, household, only English, and then they did the Abitur, which is quite amazing. But it's also worth to try. And I hope they're going to tell you why it's worth it to try. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Brislow, for this organizing for this assembly. I think because I remember 2 years ago I went through every single class, so you saved me a lot of time. Thanks, Mrs. Brislow. And okay, I hand back to you. Thank you.
Right, so many of you have asked me in class over the years, why learn German? Right, there are many good reasons for learning German, and I think you're going to find out now. The first person that I'm going to introduce to you is Bongi Molefe. She started here in Isaac, and I taught her geography, not German. However, I'll let her tell the story.
Good morning, dear teachers and learners. How are you all feeling this morning? Alright, perfect. As Ms. Maltak has already said, Ms. Lou, my name is Bongi Molefe. I matriculated here in 2017. I initially joined the German school in grade 5 through the Saturday school program in 2010. Do we have any Saturday school kids here today? Yay! Shout out to you guys. I'm currently furthering my studies at the University of the Witwatersrand, so it fits. I am honoured to be given such a platform today to share some of my high school experiences, particularly those pertaining to studying German and the opportunities I had as a result thereof. I'll be honest, German is not an easy language to learn, but I also think that nothing is easy in life. We choose our heart. Do you all agree? Yeah. Yes. For some, math is a nightmare. For others, it is their one true love. For me, learning languages is my one true love, besides saving lives. I matriculated with a final mark of 94 for German. Exactly. How did she do it? You can ask me. Asking yourself, how did she do it? Well, I started off by reading some of the German books in our library, so the DSD library, for grade 3s and 4s. So for the young kids on this side, those are the books I started reading. Then I also listened to the Hörbücher as well. So we used to have CDs and you could borrow that with your library card. And I used to play that at home and I listened to that. Even though I couldn't yet speak properly, but that's what I did. I went home and I listened to that. I also spoke to my friends and teachers in German. Well, at least the little German I knew then. That's what I used. My point is, I started small. I dedicated at least 20 minutes on most days to reading. So those little grade 3 to 4 books, 20 minutes on most days of the week, did it for me. I asked a lot of questions and got the help I needed. Fast forward to 2012. I was fortunate enough to partake in a student exchange program and stayed in Germany, Aachen, for a month. It was an awesome experience. I learned so much about the German culture, and yes, I had to try out most of the food that I'd only read about or watched on YouTube. In 2014, I once again visited Germany and went to Wangen. I met with other learners as well. We spoke German most of the time, and yes, my German was not perfect, but I was slowly getting there. Before I matriculated, so in 2017, so a year before that, 2016, I was again fortunate enough to go to Germany, Braunschweig, for a month. I did a programming and med course in German. I loved the experience. I also loved the fact that people in Germany did not judge me and say, oh, look at the Ausländer. They all knew that my grammar was also not that great, which is what you also have at the German school. I also realized that when I spoke to my friends and the teachers, they did not so much care about my grammar, but they appreciated the fact that I was actually trying and they were willing to correct me. I also took part in the Deutsche Olympiade in 2015. I was #1 in the whole of South Africa. This, once again, granted me with an opportunity to go to Germany. Now remember, in June, when we have winter, they have summer. So now I had to choose between 2 trips. Either I go to Braunschweig, or I take the other option, which I had won from the Deutsche Olympiade. But because I had 2 options and I loved maths, so I went to Braunschweig. My point here is, my German was never perfect. And still now, it's still not perfect. But I was eager to learn. and I was happy and always looked forward to being corrected and learning from others. I chose my heart. I learned lots of vocab. Yeah, I know it's difficult, and back then I had Frau Amon, and every Friday we had a vocab test. But it was amazing how that helped me in terms of my writing. And also when people spoke to me, I could listen and I could actually understand what they were saying, even if most of the time I was not able to respond. And I was not scared to ask for help when needed. Also, this goes to show that your hard work does not go unrecognized. So push, keep pushing, learn German, and that will make your life easier later on in life, just like it's making me. I don't speak much German now because I don't have any German friends, but when I come to German school or give extra German lessons or bump into someone who actually speaks German, which once happened, I was on a Via bus, and this one parent recognized me from the school, and they spoke to me in German and I spoke back. So it does happen that later on in life, when you do leave the German school, you still speak German. So that's still good. So keep pushing, do your work, and work hard. Get your DSD I and II. Do not be scared to tap into your potential. I wish you all an exciting and insightful 2022. Go for it. You have many resources that can help you get your best German mark, your DSD I and II. So use them. Don't be afraid or discouraged. You've got it. Thank you.
And I'm going to brag with her as well. She's not just a student at BITS, she's a medical student. Right, I'm going to move forward. I'm not skipping today, but I'm going to hand over to James and Akili first. And here's also a story. These two guys are English medium high school. They started, well, Akili started in grade 8, James joined us in grade 10. They both decided they wanted to study in Germany. They asked me last year, please can I coach them in DSD II? So they had me every Monday morning for just 40 minutes, and some of them we missed. And I'm proud to announce that James got the highest scores last year. Is on fourth place. So they're both good to go to Germany on a C1.
So,
I'm not going to brag with the trick results on top of that, but they're equally out there.
So good morning to the teachers, my fellow guests, and of course the Dutch students. That's why we're here. Today, Akili and I are going to talk about the value of the DSD and German with regards to all of your futures. So, as the context was given, with students from last year who both achieved the C1 in the DSD, despite the pandemic and only being English medium high school students. All of you at the DSJ have the opportunity to prove your German language abilities through the DSD. And today, Akili and I are going to explain why it is such a wonderful opportunity for you in your future, your prospects after school, how it helps in school, as well as what you need in order to do well in the test. So, as a quick summary, as Mr. Bachmeier did, I'm going to go over both the DSD I and the DSD II. The DSD I is the first test that all of you will do, and it's compulsory for all NSC students. If passed, you will qualify with either an A2 or B1 level in German, both of which are already incredibly beneficial for your future. Next is the DSD II, and if you pass that, you'll get either a B2 or C1 certification in German. I think it should be noted that the DSD II is considered a significant step up in difficulty over the DSD I's. And although I cannot speak from personal experience, as both Akili and I skipped the DSD I's in order to do the DSD II in time, I think it should be noted that you've got to put in a lot of extra effort when you do the DSD II. Both tests consist of 4 sections of speaking, reading, listening, and writing. So, why is the DSD so beneficial to your future? To me, what is actually the most important part, in my opinion, is actually the language learning journey that you experience in order to even get the certificate. Learning German is in itself a reward because, as any language is, it helps you connect with your mother tongue as well as learn about new cultures and ways of living. And while this aspect is not related directly to the DSD certificate, I think it is just as important as it is a prerequisite, and you obviously need it. Now, once you have completed and passed the DSD, you have a whole bunch of opportunities that arise for all of you. As you are students, and I speak particularly to the grade 11s and 12s here, the next step for many of you is to start at university once your time is finished. And it's always helpful to have as many paths as possible to choose from. Achieving a level of C1 in the DSD I allows you to apply directly to a German, Swiss, or Austrian university without the need for extra courses in the language. With the DSD I and a qualification in B2, qualification B2 in the DSD I, or qualification of B1 in the DSD I, you can go to a Studienkolleg, which is the preparatory course Mr. Bachmeier mentioned. And that will then even further allow you to enter a German university. Sometimes even A2 is accepted, but rarely go for those higher grades. If you're willing to work, the DSD can provide you with the incredible chance to be educated overseas in all German-speaking nations. This is something I intend to do personally as well as Akili, and it would have been impossible to do without the DSD. Beyond education, proof of German proficiency is incredibly beneficial in the job market. As Herr Bachmeier said, Germany is a major economic power, and as such, many German companies operate around the world. If you'd like to work for any of them, the DSD certificate provides a huge advantage over non-German speaking applicants. All levels that you can achieve from A2 to C1 will help you interacting with and working for German businesses. The final benefit I would like to discuss is one that helps you indirectly and helps others around you. As I'm sure you're aware, the DSD is funded by the German government, which allows the school to maintain such low fees and incredible institutions and facilities for all of you that other private schools would charge a lot more for. This educational opportunity comes with the fact that this funding is based on the DSJ expecting to have a certain number of students pass the DSD I and, much more importantly, the DSD I. If you wish to keep the school funded for yourself and your friends, the DSD is a huge part of how the school operates. Now I'll have Akili tell you how to do well and perform in the DSD. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So first thing I want to say is, obviously learning a language is very strenuous. But one thing I want to say is that it's not just talent. You don't just have a gift of learning languages. Because the amount of work you have to put in to attain the grammar, the nuances, the pronunciation of the language, it's not just talent. It's putting work, it's putting in the hours. And that's what James and I really did. Because like Mr. and James mentioned, we only had one lesson a week, on a Monday morning, a 40-minute lesson. About 3 German lessons a week were spent doing IEB stuff, doing DSD I stuff, so we didn't really have a lot of time to focus on DSD I. But James and I knew that, and what we did was we did a lot of self-studying outside of this. We did a lot of self-studying, self-work, and one of the most important things with self-study is receiving language input. Now, what is input? Well, simply put, input is just receiving of information. And you've probably heard this, watched videos, heard Lucia and all of that. But something that I really want to stress when watching videos is that you've got to understand what you're watching. So, a lot of videos are of a higher register. You shouldn't really start there, you should start on a lower register because you should understand about 80% of what's being said before you can actually pick up anything. Because if you understand half and the other half, it's just, you don't understand anything, you're not really going to pick up much, maybe a little bit of an ear for the language, but not really much, because it's the same thing as someone speaking gibberish to you. If someone speaks gibberish to you, you're not going to learn anything. So that's really important. And also, I stress that when you're watching something and you're listening to something, try not to put subtitles on or just read it, because you might as well just read an article, read a book, which is also useful, but you're trying to listen to something. Because what you're going to do is you're just going to focus on the subtitles, and then the listening aspect is basically gone. And speaking of reading, I know some German teachers here might kill me, but trust me, with reading, Google Translate is your best friend. You gotta translate half the sentence, half a paragraph, translate it. Because that's the only way you're gonna learn anything. Translate, keep on translating, keep on learning, pick up new words. And when you learn new words, try to use them in your day-to-day speech, writing, anything, so that you actually learn these words. And also, another aspect of learning a language which for me helped me the most was speaking. With speaking, obviously in my family, no one's like fluent in German, but here at the German school, it's the perfect environment. I had a friend, his name was Akani, and every morning when he came, and every afternoon, because he came every afternoon, on the bus, I would always try to speak German. I'd always try to learn German from him, to learn new words and everything from him. And he helped me a lot with that, with pronunciation, and also having an ear for the language. So what I also emphasize, and everyone else emphasizes, try to speak as much German as possible. Yes, you will make mistakes. You will say short instead of schön, something like that. But trust me, if you keep on going at it, it really helps a lot. Now, one thing that I didn't mention, and I don't think should really be mentioned, but anyways, is Deutsche Grammatik. Now, why? Because German grammatic is something crazy. But the thing is, that no DSD Prüfung has a dedicated grammatic section. There's no grammatic section in the DSD Prüfung. Because, simply put, the perfect example is with all of us here, we do English. English class, we don't just do grammar most of the time. Most of the time, what do we do? We do essays, we do books, reading, poems. Because that sort of grammatic aspect of the language sort of ingrained into us. We have the instinct. We don't need to say, oh, how do I conjugate to do? What's the correct word order? You already know straight from the get-go, yes, it's doing, or whatever the case is. And that should be the case too with German. Doing grammatic in German, it's to help you to get this instinct. So if you're just studying it, just keep on studying, you're not really getting this instinct. So you're always going to have to hesitate and think, and you're wasting a lot of time. And especially with speaking, when you're speaking, you can't just take a minute always trying to convey a message. So that's really important. So what you really should attain, especially for the DSD I learners, is to have an instinct for the German language, almost as well as your English instinct is. And for a good example is if in the DSD Prüfung they give you den Hund beißt Hans, den Hund, the dog, bites Hans, and they ask you who got bitten. Please don't say Hans got bitten. Say the dog, because German grammatic. So that's the sort of diligence you should have with the German language, so that immediately in your mind, knowing grammatic, having that instinct for the language, you would immediately say the dog got bitten. And lastly, I just want to say herzlichen Glückwunsch for all your future German endeavors, and I just want to leave you with a Spanish proverb. Learn something crying, and you'll win laughing.
That's a good proverb. I just want to say what Akili was saying about the grammar. No, you don't have a grammar section in the DSD. But in the DSD I, you actually have to write an article, which is a discursive essay, an argumentative essay. And if you don't know your grammar, you're not going to pass that. And in the same way, in the IEB matric, you have to write and write and write, one portfolio task after another. And in the exams, it's essays. And if you don't know your grammar, it's not going to work out well. Yeah? The other thing I wanted to just touch on what Akili said as well. Bonnie said earlier she started on grade 4, grade 5, grade 3 children's books. You know, best movies to start on. You all have a favorite Walt Disney movie, like Jungle Book, or I don't know, I suppose I'm old. But you all have those movies that you used to watch a lot as a child. Get those out in German first. Because then you already know how the story goes, and you can concentrate on the language. I'm now going to introduce tempeh. Hello everyone, it's such a pleasure being here. I am going to stand.
You guys okay? You guys feeling that you're receiving all this great information from incredible people? Yeah? Alright, so, a couple weeks ago, I was seated at a restaurant in a country where the only way to get around was in Portuguese. I was staying there completely alone, and I hadn't fully managed to find some company yet. Seated at the table next to me was a young woman. She was on the phone. I overheard her say, "Du kannst nicht mehr kommen? Okay, ich bleibe aber trotzdem hier und esse was. Wir sehen uns dann morgen." Immediately, a spark rose in my mind. She speaks German. I turned to her and asked her, "Sie sind Deutsch?" What followed was a 6-hour conversation about our lives, relationships, religion and creativity, everything that you could possibly imagine. The weight is belief that we were never going to leave. It's incredible to think that had I not been able to speak German, I wouldn't have been able to connect with her on the level that we had. I would have missed out on the opportunity of making a new friend in a foreign country. What I now have is a new companion and a friend in a foreign country. I have a connection in Mozambique, as well as the connection that she has to her family in Germany. And it all started with a simple, "Sie sind Deutsch." If you don't know, I'm Tempeh. My journey with German started in 2008 when I joined the DSD in kindergarten. Yes, I have been taught German from a very young age, and research confirms that children are more receptive in learning new languages. What I might have in common with many of you, however, is that at home, in my immediate family, nobody speaks German. What this meant was that homework, studying, reading, and assignments all had to be completed by my own accord. I have had many peers who started off like me in kindergarten with non-German speaking families at home. Yet I managed to complete my German Abitur with the second highest mark in German. This means that I am competing and have been competing with my peers who had strictly German nationality, speaking German at home on a daily basis. So how did that happen? In order for you to become fluent in a language, in this case German, you have to do specific things. The first thing that I would suggest for you is that you find a reason for yourself for why you are learning this language. Learning a language is not linear. But if you have a reason for learning it, you will find that the process can be very enjoyable. That is why it is so important for you to firstly define why it is that you are here to learn German. Is it because you want to travel abroad or even study in Germany? Is it because you'd like to connect with strangers and form beautiful bonds? Is it because you'd like to deepen your connection to the German culture? Is it because you'd like to show off your linguistic skills to your friends? Having a clear vision will set you up to be prepared to work hard on the journey, regardless of how difficult it may be. And trust me, we've heard learning a language, learning German is very strenuous, very difficult. The second thing I would suggest for you is to immerse yourselves completely in the language. German is not easy. In order to master it, you'll need mentors, tutors, libraries filled with books, CDs, DVDs. Lucky for you, you have all of these things available to you anytime. Have you ever once asked the librarians for a German movie recommendation that you could watch over the weekend? Have you ever once tried to finish a German novel from start to finish? Have you ever considered changing your language setting of your Netflix account so that you can receive more German content? Have you ever tried to engage with your peers in German, at least for one break a day, be it the short first or second break? You are fully responsible for the outcome of you being here. You are. Taking those necessary extra measures to improve your German is essential if you ever want to be fluent. To many, learning German is only about the mark on the report card or the result of your DSD. That is such a shame. Reshape your perspective on being here at the German school. Learning German should be about feeding your brain, advancing your studies and your career, seeing the world, gaining new perspective. Start to create an environment for yourself here where you are extending your language learning journey. Leave here with the confidence that you can and always will be able to speak German. Trust me, it will serve you as one of the greatest gifts of your life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, are there people who have questions? Because I do have a roving mic that I can come around with. Or are you going to pick the brains of your German teachers? Okay, is there a question here? Okay, awesome. Who's your question for?
What is the C1?
So it's basically a ranking to your level of your ability to speak the language, right? So the way it works is it starts off A1 being the lowest and it goes in levels of 2. So A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, C2 being the highest, A1 being the lowest. So, and each letter represents a sort of level. A being sort of beginner, B being intermediate, and C being advanced. So C1 is the first level of being advanced in a language. So for us, it was C1.
Thank you.
I'd like to just add that this method of ranking language proficiency applies to all European languages, and it's international. So any European language you do or want to learn, you will be ranked in the same way.
Hello, do you guys have any good German recommendation artists that aren't party songs?
What?
So, like, if you go on Spotify and you look for a German artist to listen to, everything is literally electro music in a club, you know? What is not electro music in a club that's in German that I can listen to?
I mean, there's a whole German rap scene, it's Deutschrap. There's a lot of, James and I know, there's a lot of German rappers that you can listen to as well, because I know us young kids, we like rap. So there's a whole Deutschrap, you can start off with, just search Deutschrap, and it give you artists and some artists on Spotify.
Honestly, it's awful, not even German are listening to it, but I would more go for German TV, for example. ARD, ZDF. They have huge, if you go to the internet, we can give you a list, ard.de. They have so many things. So I would prefer actually, I'm not a rapper, so as you can imagine, I would prefer German TV and music.
Warum haben Sie nicht in Deutschland gegangen? Oh, okay, I see. So are you asking me and James or everyone? Okay, so for me personally, I've just never left the country yet. It's never been sort of set for me to leave the country yet. But I do plan to go. I plan to study there. That's why I got my DSD I. So very soon I'll be going to Germany.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Akili. I'll be leaving in August or September to go study. But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being here as well, you get a bunch of recommendations from the Schulleitung, from teachers about the opportunities to study in Germany. So when you do leave, there is information about where you can go, what scholarships you can get. And yeah, I've received 2 scholarships to go to Germany, so I'll be going as well. But I have to choose one, I'll be going. Right, so at the moment I have no plans of going there, but my initial plan was to study here, and once we're done, go down to Germany somewhere. So in the near future, yes, but now we're going.
So my question is, so for James and Akili. Okay, so you said you have to skip DSD I to do DSD I. So does that mean us who came in grade 8 to do DSD I, we have to skip DSD I or?
No. So what happened was we were supposed to do DSD I in grade 11, But because there was the whole COVID situation happening and all of that, we just decided that no, we'll just do it in grade 12 because it was just too much stress and everything for us. So we decided we wanted us to do DSD I in grade 12, but James and I said no, we wanted to do DSD I in grade 12 and DSD I in grade 11. Since we weren't able to do it in grade 11, we had to skip DSD I and do DSD I. But for you, since COVID is sort of handled, kind of, so if nothing scary happens again, then you should be fine, you should be doing DSD I if you want DSD I.
Tempeh mentioned scholarships earlier, and I'd just like to say that I think both Akili and I were given offered scholarships by the DAD, right? From this background?
She has a big choice. She has more choices in university. That's her problem.
So if you do well as an English medium high school student, or you just don't have German nationality, talk to Herr Leitersberger. He can help you a lot with opportunities in Germany.
I just want to add something. They are so modest, those four. I mean, there are three of them are head boy or head girl, and Bongi, she's not planning to go to Germany, but I think since you did your matric, you are employed by the school. She forgot to say. And you would not employ her if she would not be so excellent in German. So this is another opportunity. I just wanted to add it.
For Tempeh, how did you go about getting the scholarships to study in Germany? Because for me right now, grade 10 was the first year that they ever spoke to us about the other financial requirements that you needed to go and study in Germany. And for a lot of the people that are in my class right now, for some of us it is a big theme of ours, but there is no logical explanation of how that could be done.
You're very right that requirements to study in Germany are quite high if you don't have a European passport, which is that to Germany, you need to prove that you're able to sustain yourself to study in Germany for a year. And how this works is in one go, you need to put in an account 10,000 euros. This is about 200,000 rand in one go. And this is a big obstacle for many. And that's why you try to get as many scholarships as you can, because they have different guidelines and consensus. But one works quite closely with the school is DSD. And you can ask your German teacher to tell you more about that, I'm sure you know. DSD, of matriculation, they do have different scholarships that they offer. The one that they're offering for this year is quite lucrative. It covers your monthly stipend there. And organizations you can apply to, you can ask your teachers to help you to guide which ones you should do. The is a very good one to look at. They basically offer you the opportunity of studying in Germany. You just have to find out exactly from them if it's the case where they'll be offering you the 10,000 euros, or they'll be proving to the German embassy that you can sustain yourself during that year of studying. So yeah, I recommend the DSD, and we just go to your teachers, to your advisors. I'm sure that they know organizations that are doing sending scholarships. But these scholarships are really difficult to get because they're offering a lot of money. So you have to show them that your marks are very consistent and good, and that your German is at a very high level. So the effort that you're putting in now determines which scholarship you're going to get later.
Specifically for Akili and James, you mentioned resources that you used outside of the school in preparation for DSD I. Can you recommend some of these?
I mean, as Herr Bachmeier said, watching German TV is a huge, huge help because it allows you to kind of passively consume the media and get the language almost integrated into your brain. I'm sure lots of you have Netflix. If you have Netflix, watch Dark. It's a German series that I find quite engaging. Otherwise, speak to your friends, engage and use the language daily so that it kind of becomes part of your lifestyle and that it's almost second nature at a point.
Also on YouTube, there's a lot of German YouTubers that you can watch. I like watching, it's called Sieht man das? It's literally German memes, so it's something that you can watch. It's memes. I'm sure all of us here, pretty much most of you guys watch memes, look at memes. So it's a lot of memes, so you pick up the language while having so it's not something where you feel like you're forcing yourself to do. There's a lot of German content like that on YouTube as well.
I'd like to add basic language, especially German. What you're trying to do is look at your routine, the normal routine that you have, and just so that you're not adding things that might be difficult to sustain. You're doing things that you normally would, but in German. So if you listen to music, just do, or if you're in music on the bus, do the same thing, but in German. So your normal routine, just switch the language.
Mr. Bachmeier just made a very, very good comment. The best way to pick up German as a foreign language is to get yourself a German boyfriend or girlfriend. It will work. It will 100% work. Over and above that, well, I second that totally. Over and above that, we are going to put together a list of music and movie and reading resources in the DAF faculty that will be made available with recommendations for the different grades and levels if you are interested in doing additional self-study. Thank
you. Are any of you from Witwatersrand? No, one of you has a Witwatersrand mask, so I'm just wondering.
The teachers come along with you, and did one of you get a white blazer? I'm saying that did you guys have to pack loads of books to practice for going to German because everybody there spoke German? Or were your teachers coming along with you to teach you on the way there? Or did any of you get a white blazer? My friend is asking.
Okay, so I think I'll answer that one. Okay guys, it's all come down. Thank you. So I'll answer that one. So I didn't have to carry loads of books with me to Germany, no. So I just took whatever little German was in my brain. That's all I packed up in my head, and I went to Germany and I spoke that little bit of German. So all you have to pack is just your confidence, your love for German and learning and your eagerness, and on your way to Germany.
Okay. Learn German on the way is difficult, the flight is just right out, so you have to invest a little bit more.
Is Germany beautiful? Since you have been there. Is Germany beautiful?
Yes, it's very beautiful.
Germany beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful. So places that we've been so far, very beautiful.
Is this the question?
Hey, come.
I mean, if you think about it, they have huge forests and their beaches and their great cultural cities, a lot of things to do, a lot of young people, a lot of fun. It's very safe. So it's beautiful. You'll enjoy it.
How do you learn the German grammatic as instinct?
Oh, so what I meant by instinct is you should know it so well that you don't have to really hesitate and think, oh, how do I conjugate this? You immediately know. The way you speak English now is the way you should try to speak German without thinking, without trying to hesitate at the moment.
I'd like to add to that, you guys all have a Kursbuch and an Arbeitsbuch, alright? Yes, invest the pointer and then progressing from there. Basically, when you learn a new section of grammar, you get to practice it. And it's actually a fact that for your brain to store anything in long-term memory, you'll have to practice that little thing at least 10 times. It's like mathematics. So if you don't keep practicing it, it doesn't become natural, right? So you need to keep applying it and keep practicing it, and then it becomes second nature. Then you don't have to think hard before you formulate a sentence, before you can actually say it. Then you will start speaking instinctively.
I wanted to ask if we get an opportunity to go to Germany, we could only have one destination.
Could you repeat that, please?
I wanted to ask if we get an opportunity to go to Germany, if we have one destination.
You have one distinction. It's possible. I mean, the way the German universities work is they take your South African matric and convert it through a system so that it would equate with the Abitur. So you could, but it's the same as asking if someone in Abitur only got one or two distinctions, would they be allowed?
What's the easiest/best university in Germany to go to?
The great thing about Germany is that the education is very standardized, so there's always a good level to any university. The university I personally want to go to is the University of Heidelberg. It's a very small university town, but honestly, any of them will really meet your needs and requirements.
I wanted to ask, is there a better way of education than DSD II? Is there anything better than that?
You can take other tests to get C2, but that is not offered by the school and is also unnecessary. Any university will accept you with the C1, but there are other language diplomas that you can take out there besides the DSD I.
I mean, if you move to the German stream and you do the German Abitur, even the level of language, of course, much higher than it is too. But for non-German mother tongue speakers, DSD II is the highest level.
I wanted to ask all of you, why did you have to go to Germany 3 times?
Thank you for asking. I don't know. No, I think maybe because I also did well in German. Not only because I was intelligent, I wouldn't so much say like I'm talented in the language, but also because I was dedicated, put in the time. So that also showed. And when they did have opportunities, then I would also apply. For example, the Bangen one that we did in Vietnam, you first have to write a motivational letter, why they should choose you. And yeah, so I'd say that also contributed, applying to them, but also just making like that extra effort so your teachers also do see that you are hardworking, you are dedicated, and this would be an opportunity that would be worthwhile for you.
So, you guys had COVID, well, when you around everything fall, and you guys had a lot of stress. How did you work around that and stay calm throughout it all and just manage all your schoolwork and what things you want and two and
So, with basic, that applies to basically anything with stress and lots of load to do. It's to always try to have some sort of system which you keep on doing a routine, so that you don't end up in a situation where you just have so much work to do and not enough time to complete it. So always dedicate some time out to finish this, do this on a certain day, and that helps a lot.
Right, guys. thank you very, very much for your interest, and I'm sorry we can't take any more questions, but we're already 20 minutes over time. So I thank you all for being here and for your interest, and I thank my alumni very much for giving us their time and their input.